Now, before we actually get going in the course, I want to give you just a little course overview so that you kind of understand what you're getting yourself in for here. First of all, we're going to talk about just understanding virtual computing, what it is, what we can accomplish with it, the problems that it's supposed to solve. Then I'll do a little virtual history. It's really fascinating to know how virtual computing got here, the 17 problems they had to solve to make this behave. Then I'll talk about VMware as a company, some of the products that they have out there. We'll do a little overview on Workstation, talk about the appliances you can download. Then I'll move into kind of getting started with Workstation, talk about how you can get your hands on a free copy of Workstation, the trial copy, install it, work with it. We'll talk about the host system requirements that you need to run Workstation. Then we'll actually get into installing Workstation on your host machine, and then we get into the good stuff, creating virtual machines. And then we'll talk about how to import virtual machines from other platforms, and we'll talk about even things like importing things from VirtualBox and some of the other products out there. Then we'll jump into kind of managing our virtual machines in the form of stopping, starting, and resuming virtual machines. We'll talk about closing and exiting Workstation using the drag and drop, cut and paste functions, and then we'll get into shared folders that are replacing Teams in Workstation 8. Then we'll talk about a really neat functionality called mapping a virtual disk. That'll blow you away if you've never seen it. And then printing from our virtual machine. What's involved there that might be kind of surprising. Snapshots. This is a really neat functionality, but there's a lot of pitfalls here. We'll cover those as we go through. How to record a virtual machine. Really neat stuff. When you're an administrator and you're trying to tell another administrator, a group of administrators, how to do something on the server with VMware's Workstation, you can just turn on a recorder, record that virtual machine, send them an AVI video and say, hey, do what you see here. Pretty neat stuff. Managing the virtual machine, we'll talk a lot about different things here. Using Unity mode, encrypting your virtual machines, how to move them, understanding the UUID and not getting confused there, cloning virtual machines, exporting virtual machines, and then we'll talk about configuring these things, various aspects of that. Then we're going to jump on networking. And networking tends to confuse a lot of people, only because it is a bit confusing in the virtual world. But I'll show you some diagrams, clear that up. Sharing virtual machines, this is a really kind of out there functionality. I can build a virtual machine, share it off my workstation. From your workstation, you can run a virtual machine on my machine and work with it. Then we'll talk about editing the VMX file, a little bit of an advanced administrative technique, but you'll need to do it. Then we'll kind of close it out dealing with the virtual machine BIOS. And so we're going to cover a lot of information about Workstation. I dare say, unless you've used this a whole lot, you're probably going to see something in here, and it's going to be one of those, man, I wish I had known that all along, or I've always wondered what that was for, or how to make something like that happen. So anyway, going to cover lots of stuff. So get yourself something good to drink, get comfortable, sit back. There's a lot going to happen here, so let's get started.